about to witness the awesome, crushing might of KNUCKLE! Welcome, my friends, to a show that apparently never ends. It's called Knuckle Up. I am your host, EUGENE S. Robinson. And you have to wait for the words that set it all off. Yeah, Stigmata from Calling of the Just. Our intro bumper is called All of Nothing. And I'm in the skull game. Oh, early birds get the worm. I see 3 of you, 5 of you. But you gotta wait for the music to play its way out. And then I gotta climb out of the car. Wait for it. I'm on my way back to nowhere. I took my time and I could not see so clear. I'm taking a real good look at you. I'm taking a real good look at your face. All right. Being paid back in full, always nothing. All right. So let's do this. No music during the show. Sorry, I'm in the car because I can't get anything with that kind of volume at the studio. So now, I'm sorry if you're prone to this kind of motion sickness, you're gonna have to come with me out of the car, and I'm gonna have to make my way into the studio. At which point I will start the show. Yes, I'm in front of. Oh, I'm in front of the house in my underwear. And somebody's threatening to call the police. Oh. Actually, there's a fist fight about to break out. Yeah, interesting. I'll deal with that later. Anyway, so here we are. This is round number 340. I'm your host, EUGENE S. Robinson. I'm just going to start talking. There's no need for a preamble. You got, he's here. Yeah, okay. So we're ready. We're what we're called loaded for bear. All right, so I halfway thought that I would talk for 57 minutes about this guy who I knew in 3rd grade because, you know, he had a funny hat, and the hat that he had, you know, was, I was going to do that. And then at the last 5 minutes, I was going to say, oh yeah, by the way, that Ronda fight, that was something else, wasn't it? And then I was going to give you my address so you could all show up at the house and kill me. After I did something like that, you know, I did know this guy who actually did that to this woman. He said, "Hey, babe," he said, "Hey, we should get married." And she goes, "Get the fuck out." He goes, No, really. And she goes, "No, come on, stop fucking around." He's like, "No, really, we should really do this, you know." And this goes on for 20 minutes, 25, 30 minutes. So this, you know, the guy is doing all this heartfelt, you know, soul feeling, sensitive boy stuff, you know, staring in the eyes, holding the hand, looking down and away, breathing. And finally she goes, well, I mean, okay, if you think so. And he goes, I got you. And I thought she would have been fully within her rights to kill him. However, later when I came to discover what kind of a person she was, I figured it was well-deserved. Anyway, this is round 100, 340. I'm your host, Eugene S. Robinson. The S stands for, I guess you expect me to say the S stands for stunned. The S doesn't stand for stunned. You know, well, first of all, let me say, though my picks were terrible. As far as I know, Kid Nate and I had a lot of don't cares on this card. However, even with the profusion of don't cares, and I'm looking for my tote sheet, even for the profusion of don't cares, oh, here we go. Here's my list of infamy. I only cared about 5 fights, and of those 5 fights I cared about, Struve lost, Hall lost, Ronda lost. The only ones I had on the positive tote were Hunt and Joanna. So, but you know, never have you seen one man as happy, like Billie Holiday once saying, you know, for someone you something you adore, it's a pleasure to be sad. I am perfectly happy to be sitting in front of you today, exulting in what happened last night because it was a non-standard moment. Well, what kind of non-standard moment what are you talking about, Eugene? Non-standard moment? I'm telling you very precisely, non-standard moment. It was a wrinkle in time. Now, the rest of the show, we're going to spend it trying to figure out, and I'm going to argue I'm the devil, and I'm the devil's advocate. That doesn't make any sense. I guess we're both on the defense team. I'm going to be the Grand Inquisitor, and I'm going to be the devil's advocate. How about that? We'll do that on either side of the equation. So I'm not going to tell you which hand on which hand my cards are playing. You know what I'm trying to say. Don't get funny with me. No, I mean, you don't know. You might be guessing that I'm going to go for the conspiracy hand, the Inquisitor, or you might suspect I'm going to go for the devil's advocate. But let's look at the facts. Let's look at the facts. We'll walk backwards, like that time sports agent extraordinaire Salvatore Russo called me and said, "Hey, I saw an ex of yours today. She had on one shoe and she was walking backwards down the street to the bus stop." No, you didn't. He goes, "Oh, yeah, yes, I did." And then he took a picture. No, that's a joke. So anyway, let's go into it backward. All right. What we saw last night was in the second round of a 5-round championship fight. We saw Ronda. We saw Ronda get knocked out by Holly Holm. Okay, that's what we saw. We also saw, I don't know what the odds were, and I'm not so good with the math, but I think it was 1,200. 1,200. That means to get 100. What does that mean? To get $100, you would have to bet. To get $100, you have to bet 1,200. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. If you had bet $100, if you had maybe reasonably, I would have thrown away $50. How much would I have made on Holly? Somebody text me. I've already given my number out. Those of you who are watching who have my number, text me how much that would be. If I had bet $50 on Holly Holmes, you tell me how much that would be. All right. So now we've covered the facts. We know second round, Ronda was knocked out with a head kick, several more blows on the ground. Interesting. I watched the film 3 or 4 times at this point, and I didn't really see Herb Dean stop anything. It's kind of funny. You know, Chad Mendes is out there somewhere going, "Hey, whoa, hey, what? Hey, you mean I have to be a champion before I can take a head kick, fall to the ground, and take 3 or 4 solid punches in the face before you wave the fight off?" Instead, with Chad Mendes, I know you're saying, Eugene, okay, we're sick of hearing this. So, all right. So there's a reason you expect me to say it was a fix. There is a reason you expect that, says the Grand Inquisitor. And the reason you expect me to say it was a fix, because you're following the money. You're taking that $50 that I put on Holly Holmes, you're putting it through the odds makers, and you're coming out with whatever. Here, let me make sure I can see the phone. When you guys text, you guys with calculators, text me what that was. Well, nobody who's watching yet has a calculator. So you're looking at the money and you're going, This is too good to be true. This is too good. McGruff the crime dog says if something is too good to be true, it probably is too good to be true. It's probably not true is what McGruff the crime dog is saying. So you say, I can't believe this happened. And I'm going to tell you in the name of the Inquisitor right now, I'm going to tell you where things start to smell strange. I'm not going to tell you whether I believe one way or the other until the very end. Things start to smell strange at the weigh-ins. And I know things are smelling strange at the weigh-ins because the chief technology officer at Ozzy comes over to my desk and says, "Did you see that?" And I go, "No, I'm working." And he goes, "What? See what? Did you see the weigh-in? Look at it now and make sure you make it all the way through to the interview at the end." So I'm watching the weigh-ins, the names and the cheering and the cute waving at the crowd, hello, Australia. Yeah, okay, whatever, and man, we're not in Australia. Hello, wherever we are. So, then they do the fist high, and Ronda's doing the head thing, shoves her away, and, is jawing at her. The bald one is jumping in between, or somebody so piquantly called him Uncle Fester is jumping in between, shoving her, oh, break, oh, come on. I go, oh. This is what we call dog. This is what we call pony. I'm into it. I'm watching. I'm enjoying. And then Rogan steps up with the mic, and then Rogan says, "So, what just happened there? What just happened there is I'm trying to get people juiced up for a dog of a fight. And any of you listening right now, any of you within the sound of my voice who don't say going in that this was a dog of a fight, you're lying like a rug. Okay? On the Care, Don't Care preview this week, Kid Nate and I, we could barely, we're gonna watch this fight because we have to, but we don't care. We don't care. We don't care about this fight. This is an impossibility. This is an impossibility that Larry Holly Holmes would win. Larry Holmes would win. An impossibility. What do we base that on? We base that on our eyes and your eyes. There is nothing that we saw, and then we're looking, how deep did they have to dig for those clips with her looking okay? Or were we okey-doked? This was a pretty long troll, or like they used to say in the old days for bunco artists, it was a long con. It would have had to start a long time ago. Or Holly is one of those people like Ronda. You take somebody who's a fairly accomplished athlete, and you actually, and I'm not talking about a Kimbo Slice, 6 months, finally trying to figure out what a rear naked choke is, and able enough to pull it off on a Ray Mercer. I'm talking about, a high level athlete, and then say, okay, we're going to do this for the next 6 months. You got nothing else to think about. You got nothing else going on. This is it. I mean, lest we not forget the Chuck Liddell school of attack still worked. Chuck just got old. He said, I wasn't worried about, unlike them, I'm not worried about getting clipped when I come in, because why? He had the hand skills. And then so what are you defending against? If you're defending against anything at that point, you're defending against the hips. You hold the hips away, yeah, nobody's going anywhere. So, all right, so we see the Dog or Pony show, and Rogan sticks a mic in her face. What just happened there? Outside of trying to drum up an interest in a fight that people are just not buying, And she says, well, I want everybody to see that she's the girl. Everybody thinks she's nice, but she's not. And I'm looking at the chief technology officer. I'm like, what the fuck? He goes, is she drunk or high? And I'm looking at her and I go, being a master of drunk high, I say, no, young student. She is not drunk nor high. She is simply suffering from weight cut. And he was like, oh, thank you, Master Drunk High. I understand now. She is Mess up from weight cut. Yes. Yes. So I figure it's a weight cut because you see at 135, Ronda doesn't look that way any other time during the year. Specifically, if you remember me holding up the camera with the phone, somebody sent me a picture of her, you know, looking like looking very muscular. And this was a few months out. So that was a little bit strange. Maybe the weight cut was kind of tough. Maybe the weight cut was kind of tough. I don't really smell anything, though. I don't really smell anything stinky at that point. I just go, tough weight cut, you know, now you can go, you drink fluids, you eat, you rehydrate, you relax, you know. And then they disappear. They disappear from our sight, from our minds. And, okay, so next time we see them, they're walking in. And there are other fights in the card to talk about, and I'm sorry to say, I don't know if we're going to get to them today. All right, somebody texted me here. What is that number? Okay, he says, Rousey was a minus 1,200 favorite, meaning you'd bet 1,200 on her and get 100. I think Holly closed at plus 600. If you bet 50 on her, you get 300. Is that right? I think odds moved huge, though. She was minus 2,000 at something over minus 1,000. Hey, come on, man. Come on, man. All I want to know is if I bet $50 on Holly, what would I get now? It doesn't matter. I'm not so good. I'm not so strong in the maths. So anyway, so the next time we see them, is it, you know, it's a backstage and they're running the same old packages about them, and then they go to the panel. Karen Bryant on the panel, and you got Frank Mir, you got Rashad Evans, and you got one other person whose name, I'm sorry, it's slipping my mind. So what do you think? And everybody goes, Holly, Ronda, and Rashad Evans goes, Rashad Evans, who knows a little something about the Chuck Liddell-esque approach, having knocked Chuck Liddell out, said, I'm going to call this one for Holly. Now you might be thinking, if you're going to go deep, conspiracy deep, you might think, of course, if you're going to go conspiracy deep thinking, this is a real interesting red herring, because Holly was training with Greg Jackson, you know, and John Jones at the Rashad's X-Fight team. You know, you might have expected him to be all in for Ronda, but he wasn't. He called it for Holly. And he called it for Holly because why? Don't know. And maybe he's a contrarian. Maybe he's digging deep into his basket of whatever the hell happened with him and Chuck Liddell. Maybe he has a basic understanding of, step back, a basic understanding of a press conference in which you can go to rollingstone.com and read, Ronda says, I think after this fight, I'm going to disappear for a long while. I'm going to disappear for a long while. You know, now the rigors, if going up to this fight, you know, the weight of carrying a fight that nobody was interested in, this was a heavy weight, to which Ronda did quite well. She was on the cover of Self magazine. She was on the cover of Ring magazine. How's that feel now? Ring magazine. You gotta know. You know, it's like people say, you know, somebody was eavesdropping on somebody talking about me, and they were like, yeah, you know, he doesn't like you, and he's happy to see you. You know, Ring magazine doesn't like you, and they're happy to see you. It was somebody at Ring magazine should right now be smoking a big cigar, you know, because the narrative that was served by her being taken out by a boxer is a narrative that the rest of us are not really holding dear, but you know, the Chuck Liddell-esque school, it still holds, it abides. So we have this with this report where she's like, well, she was on the cover of Self, she was on the cover of Ring, she was here, she was there. Usually when somebody's doing a lot of press like that, it shows me that they're focused and they're dialed in. But sometimes, Anderson Silva coming to mind, sometimes George St. Pierre coming to mind, the rigors, you know, the rigors of the neck that holds the head, that holds the crown, having to keep that head upright, it's probably pretty tough. It's probably pretty tough if you haven't done it before, you know. And I have to say that because you take somebody like me who's a musician, I could do that shit in my sleep. I'll do 5 interviews in a day, the TV appearance, because because I want to get a call at the end of the day from Wells Fargo telling me, Eugene, we love you. So it's okay. If you're just an athlete, you're like, man, when do I get to do the part that's fun? Doesn't matter. All I'm looking at are the words on the page. It said, I'm going to disappear for a little bit after this. Why is she saying that because she's been fighting a lot in this year? What, like Uriah Hall? This was his like fourth fight in the last 9 weeks? You mean like that? No, probably not. No, because you fought Betch Correia. When was that? Like about 4 or 5 months ago. There's a lot of stuff happening. You had the movies are a lot of work. This I know. So she's gonna disappear. All right, she's gonna disappear. And so then we now we're gonna focus on what happened in the cage. She's there. She's still pimping the whole the Diaz brother thing. Refuses to touch gloves. Jumping around. Herb Dean, sexy and sophisticated. Herb Dean is the ref. Judges are people who I haven't heard of. Sorry, I'm not, unless it's Cecil Peoples or Crosby. I'm not suspicious. Or Sal D'Amato. I'm not worried necessarily. So the fight starts. I just rewatched it. The fight starts, and she comes out, and there's this idea, this stratagem that fighters have who are champions, and I've heard Jose Aldo put it into play. But it's like in the old days, the Gracie videos, the Gracie Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu videos in the old days were pretty complete. They were 97% complete. But that 3% that they left out was always to give a real Gracie fighter an exit door. Yeah, it should have worked on everybody else, but a Gracie fighter will have that last counter to get out. And so you can only become a complete fighter if you do it Gracie style. Otherwise, you're going to get caught by Gracie guys. It was pretty clever. Yeah, we'll give you all of our stuff except for this one piece, and these are the keys to the kingdom, right? So Jose Aldo has voiced a similar sentiment, which is, I'm the champion. What I've done has made me champion. There's really no need for me to change. The only problem with that is people have seen what you've done. We've always talked about this before. You opened a crack. You've opened a portal into a wheelhouse that shows, I got this in my quiver. How you liking these metaphors, man? I'm just mixing them like crazy. I got this in my quiver. I got this in my quiver. I got that in my quiver. And at some point, you don't know how I'm going to mix them up. It becomes a real deficit. Now I'm the devil's advocate. It becomes a real deficit having everybody see what you're capable of doing and knowing that you have no desire to change. So Ronda rushes her, and Holly's been pretty stoic throughout, and you've seen this with the Diaz's in the face of a GSP. You've seen, if part of your game plan is to worm the way inside the skull pan, if that's part of your game plan, the worm your way inside. I'm clanging, psychological disorder where you rhyme everything unconsciously into the brain pan. If that's 8% of your game, 6%, 3% of your game, and you failed, then you've lost that 3%. You've lost it, gone. It's in the garbage somewhere. So she's rushing her, and she's all of a sudden, if you want, I remember somebody telling me, talking to me about a writer friend we had, and said, oh yeah, you want to get the key to her writing? Read Hunter S. Thompson. And then once you see that, you can't read her writing anymore, because it's less like she's imitating Hunter S. Thompson. It's like there's certain bands like that where once you realize who they're ripping off, it's hard to listen to them because you just listen to the people they're ripping off. It's almost that way with like a writer like Bukowski, who I love, but Bukowski calls himself out on it. He goes, fuck me. You want to read John Fonte, read Knut Hampson. But, you got to give a nod. But suddenly I'm watching this fight, and you know who I'm watching? I'm watching Johnny Boney Joni. The long, ghostly shadow of Johnny Boney Joni. You don't think so? They called them oblique kicks. Yeah, when they were a little higher, they were oblique kicks, but it was that knee kick. It was keep her out, keep her out, keep her out, in, boom, boom. Keep her out, keep her out, keep her out, boom, boom. And angle. Ronda comes straight, angle. So Ronda is now, she's got her quiver and she's pulling these arrows out of the quiver. I'll try this. And you know, Mike Tyson said it best. Everybody's got a game plan until they get punched in the face. Now, this is not, doesn't work in this instance because Ronda knew that she was going to get punched in the face. But it's a order of magnitude difference to get punched in the face by somebody who knows how to punch in the face and get punched in the face by somebody who doesn't know how to punch in the face. You know, I had a boxing coach once and he was, you know, I was maybe a little bit of a prick. Maybe. Yeah. And I'm like, you know, set. And I wanted to get in there like Rocky. And the guy's having me do all this shit with the ropes and the jump. He's not letting me get anywhere near. And finally I just say, yeah, but what if, you know, I could see he goes, he just got pissed off. And he was like, here, put these gloves on for a second. and he put some gloves on. He goes, no, hold your hands up like you're suggesting. And he hits me with this combination. It was a 3-shot combination. None of the shots they were all body shots. This cat was fucking 63 years old. And at the time, I was 25 and weighed 200 and 200 and no. How much was I? I must have been about 28, and I weighed about 235 pounds. And it was like, God damn, okay. Listen. So you get hit by somebody who knows how to hit, and it's a big difference. You know, Betch Kahea didn't get off, and I don't know that she knows how to hit. You know who knows how to hit? Cyborg knows how to hit. You know who else apparently knows how to hit? Holly Holmes knows how to hit. This is a devil's advocate. This is this is for those of you who write complaining, and this is not a show for the fucking stupid watchers. If you're a stupid viewer, I hope you're already gone because you won't be able to figure this out. Come back in a couple of days, and people in the comments will have explained it to you. The people who stuck with it. I'm not good at math. Everything else, fine, but you're not going to be able to keep up. So just get out. Come back later. Just give up now. The commenters will explain it to you post facto. So she gets hit in the face, and I'm not going to underestimate the intensity or I'm not going to underestimate that. That had to be something. So she goes to the second arrow in the quiver, which is fuck it. I got to get inside, and I got to get inside now. And the best way is to get her against the fence. She goes straight, Holly angles out. She goes straight, Holly angles out. And Holly's even scooting. She's on her bicycle. She's moving. And then you notice 2 minutes in, you notice something else. You notice a Ronda going like this. A lot of breathing through the mouth. Where's Australia? It's Australia at pretty high elevation. I have some friends who just went to Peru and they passed out on the street. But man, I'm feeling kind of passed out in the street in Lima. Well, let's see. Australia has a shark problem. I don't think too many mountain villages have shark problems. So I say it's at sea level. Okay? So what else would be making you that tired that you can't? Well, getting punched in the face would make you pretty tired. An adrenaline dump? The producer of the show said to me last night, she goes, when I knew it was over when she walked in. I go, why is that? She said, she looked scared. She looked scared. What do you mean she looked scared? She always has this intensity. I said, this wasn't intensity. Why the fuck would she have been scared? Because they've been doing nothing but watching film at Holly Holm for the last 3 months. When they said that they thought this fight was a challenge, that was actually not bullshit. I'm like, maybe. So the mouth is open. Look at it. 2 minutes in. So now I'm looking at the clock. It's 3 minutes and 19 seconds left in the round. And she's chasing. She's getting popped at will. And now you see it penetrate somehow. It's like I'm getting popped at will. At will, she's punching me in the face as she so desires. I simply need to come up with something to defeat this animal brutal attack. And then she does. She gets her against the fence, and she's easing the hips in. They're using, you know, some Holly's grapevines her legs, and she tries a hip throw, and Holly splays and keeps Ronda is poised. This neither fish nor fowl, and then they settle down into what seemed like an armbar, and you can see Holly take her right hand. And she's moving the elbow out. And then once I see the elbow clear the thigh, I go, fuck, she's out. She's out. And he doesn't stay on the ground. Chuck Liddell style, pushes back, gets up, goes and is dance. And so the dancing around serves a couple of it sends a couple of signals. It says, you know, I got a lot left in this tank. I'm ready for a 5-rounder. I don't know why you weren't. And you have to understand, going into this, you know, it was, if you recall Rogan going into the first time that Brock Lesnar got beaten, he was like, he takes the bodies of giants and buries them in his backyard. He'll beat you with your own arm and feed it to your mother. He's a wrecking machine. Okay, Joe. And Joe was doing, Ronda, I believe she is the daughter of Zeus. Joe's hyperbole gets a little purple. I love you, Joe. But man, I mean, whatever you're swept away on, you gotta, you know, and I hope you're eating that moose meat. Don't kill it if you're not gonna eat it. So anyway, the round ends, and it's super telling what happens in each of the corners. You know, I guess we made too much fun of Greg Jackson with the breathe out. He doesn't really do that. Control your breathing. He doesn't do that stuff anymore. But he was in there, and he was pretty clear-headed. And I got, at that point in time is when I said, you know, Ronda is losing this fight. Why? I don't know. But let's keep going. In Ronda's corner, her declaring bankruptcy coach, who her mother thinks is the worst human being ever that she would run down if murder wasn't against the law, is, you know, some stuttering, muttering about, you got this. Ronda lost that round. This is the first round that Ronda has ever lost, and she lost that round. Yeah, okay, we got it, man. She lost the round. We got it. The round is lost in smoke in the garbage somewhere. All right. And they come out the second round, and Ronda looks like this. Again. I mean, if it had been any other two people, just disengage for a second from all of what you know about these people as individuals. If this had been a street fight that you stumbled into by the juniper bushes behind the 7-Eleven, you know, where I'm always hanging out, you know, you would have gone, she's fucking done. You know, and she's like overcompensating this wild swing that then she stumbles and she gets up and she turns around. And you know what? She saw the world's smallest horror movie when she turned around. It's just Holly just standing there waiting. Just waiting. I don't know what you're doing with this breakdancing, but I'll wait till you stand up and we can finish. I mean, you understand that judo is the art of transitions, right? In Brazilian jiu-jitsu, the transitions are resolved. You were on the ground. In boxing, the transitions are resolved. You are standing up. Judo is the martial art of transition, to get the person from standing up to on the ground. Now, a lot of times judokas, like the guy, Henzo's guy, who got his black belt in like a year, you know, they can, if they manage a transition, it can put you on the ground in a position that betters their march to victory, then fine. And yes, I know I haven't mentioned Nazis yet, but I just did. If boxing is if you can manage your transitions by putting the other person through transition first by knocking them out, yes, okay, then you do quite well. But judo is about managing a transition. Take that out. You take out the transitional thing, and then what do you have? Well, you have somebody who's neither a great boxer nor a great jiu-jitsu player. These are the three tent poles of mixed martial arts. So what do you got? You got somebody's waiting. What they should have said is, do whatever you got to do to get her down. Dive for the legs. Forget about this fucking judo shit for a second, because she's been planning on it. Every time you get in there, she's pushing the hips. Every time she's shifting her hips and pushing your hips. She's not going. You try to throw, she splays. It's pretty clear that they've looked into your previous fights and have been able to see that this is what happens. They're not going for it. You have to adjust. But you know, her corner is there. He's thinking about how am I gonna beat this bankruptcy thing? How am I gonna keep from doing Wesley Snipes time? How is that gonna happen? And she goes out, stumbles. Holly stand there, punches her in the face, split her lip open, and then delivered the kill shot to the neck. And then we had the great pleasure of watching Herb Dean watch her punch Ronda. Was it 2 or 3 times in the face? I wanted the camera so badly, like they do at the Academy Awards, to cut away to Chad Mendes sitting there going, what? And then they could do it like Univision would be, ¿qué? And then in German sports TV would be, you know, was? You know, we got Chad Mendes confused in many different languages. Man, I got hit 1.5 times and you stopped the freaking fight. And then she's like kicked in the neck and punched 3 times in the face before you finally call it off. Hey, buddy, I'm not saying this is Chad Mendes talking. I'm not saying the Chad Mendes Conor McGregor fight was fixed, but I'm saying at the end of the round with 3 seconds left, I took 1.5 shots and you waved off the fight. You notice how absent Conor McGregor has been in the bald ones talking and the chatter. Yeah, they had the promo, but those promos pre-existed and they still have to sell a fight. You want to make yourself persona non grata to the bald one? Actually, you want to make yourself persona non grata to anyone. Ask for $100 million. If you ask me for $100 million, your phone will stop ringing. You will not hear from Eugene anymore. Especially if I have it. If I have $100 million and you're asking me for $100 million, I'm going to have to say I am not going to return your phone calls. And if I don't have it, I figure I'm being mocked. All right, so where are we now? So now Honda is knocked out, laying there. Herb Dean is somehow, I don't know what he's doing. He's thinking about how sexy and sophisticated he is. Those of you who don't understand that, you'll have to get somebody to explain it to you. And then the post-fight press conferences. I don't know. There was so much uproar and hubbub where I watched the fight. I'm not quite sure if the camera lingered at all on Ronda. I don't recall seeing her at all after that. So she either pulled a Forrest Griffin and hustled out of there. I don't know what happened. Or she was, you know, when this person's fucked up and doesn't get up. I saw her at some point trying to wrestle, not kind of trying to, you know, her arm was up in the air and Herb Dean was like, it's okay. And she's sitting up and she's like saying stuff to Herb Dean. I saw that. I saw her go over to congratulate Holly. I saw that. And then I didn't see anything. I'm pretty sure they did not interview her. And then technically, supposedly because of the lip, she had to be rushed to the hospital. I'm not sure if she was at the presser. I had to get out of there where I was. They turned it into Tejano Disco, like at 10:01. They don't fuck around. It's like next thing I know, you know, the guys in cowboy hats and cowboy boots, you know, like where mariachis go on their day off. This is the place I was watching the fight. So no word from Honda Housey yet, but you know, Holly is, well, you know, sort of a strange thing happened. Holly has become America's sweetheart. You know, kind of like how Meg Ryan used to be. It's just this fake act that Ronda was slurring her way through the post weigh-in thing. You're fake. I know that you're just a phony. You're just a fake. You're just a and she's in the press conference and she's, you know, my father's here, my father the preacher's here, my team, you know, she's crying, she's happy. You can't help but feel happy for this person. So that's an argument in favor of this being legit. There is my devil's advocacy. So now let's go back to the Inquisitor. If you have to look at this carefully, you're looking at it carefully, and what do you come up with? Okay, would somebody who was undefeated, could you get to, if you're trying to fix something, could you get to somebody who's undefeated and say anything that would sway them from the historical significance of what they're about to achieve, even a company person? Could you do this? Well, let's see. If you bet $6 million on Holly Holmes and you lose to Holly Holmes, how much money do you take home? Eugene, this means that you would have to value a value of cash over legacy. How would you? No. It's impossible. If you have $6 million that you could gamble, first of all, people are going to start asking questions, and it changes the money line right away. Anybody who put $6 million on Holly Holm, the fix would have been it would smell to high heaven, and there would be some sort of investigation. The gaming commission would be called something. What are you going to give? Were you going to get 6 million friends and all that? Have them all put put $1 in? No, it doesn't work this way. So could you successfully say, look, Honda, this is good for business. This is good for business specifically because of this. We now have fights that matter. You cleared out the division. There was nobody else. Do we want to hand it to a Cyborg? No, because a Cyborg beat you and nobody believes that there should be a second fight. However, whatever round of excuses that are about to happen, when Ronda finally talks, if you expect her to say, she was a better woman than I was that night, I take my hat off to her, you know, I think she'll be a great champion, I have no answers for this. If that's what you hear, I'd be very surprised. I'd expect to hear the weight cut was bad, I had a lot of distractions with this whole Travis Brown thing, you know, I was depleted. The travel over. I ate some bad squingili. Anything exculpatory at this point sets up a casus belli for a second fight. Now we bought ourselves. If you think, I mean, I don't know what the buy rate was on this one, but it was probably lower than it'll be on the second one. When Ronda says, yeah, you know, I made some adjustments. Maybe this is also a time for her to shuck her bankrupt team. Well, one place she can't go is Jackson, so that's out. But, you know, it might allow her to make some much needed adjustments, get some time off, disappear like she said she wanted to. But the question is, could you have persuaded her to do this? You know? Could pressure have been brought to bear that would have gotten her to do this, either for her sake or the sake of the organization? Could you have done any kind of slick talking that would have got that over that fence? And I'm going to say right now, no. I don't believe it. I don't believe there's any kind of slick talking, but here I am on the other side of the fence. If you did want to throw a fight and you've got lunatics like Mr. Eugene Zapruder watching with a gimlet eye, how would you do it? Clearly, it can't be the sexy and sophisticated Herb Dean. He can't be the one in there, you know, doing some weird stuff with the calls. It can't be a judge's issue. No, it has to go on in the cage between the principals. Do you let the principals in on it? Principals, plural? No. Holly Holm needs to know nothing because you need her performing at the top. It has to be super legit. So then who? Well, eyes turn to Ronda. Cash is not motivating. Legacy is maybe more important. However, this sets up a 3-fight series during which they will make how much? Well, if money is not important, how is this important? Well, it builds a legacy. It builds a narrative that's worth what? Future cash consideration. I don't believe it. Don't believe it. What I suspect? Hubris. Hubris. Harsha looking at the gods and going, eh. However, back on the other side, however, if you were going to, I just sit like this and do it. If you were going to go into this fight and saying, look, if you're the bald one, I'm not saying these conversations happen, but just imagine if you're the bald one, how do you make this happen? How can you create a situation? I mean, does Ronda go the Diaz route and by holding her hands low and showboating, and then she gets clipped? No, people buy that as an accident. We can also call that the Anderson Silva. And what happened when Anderson Silva did it against Chris Weidman the first time? And there were no 2 fights with Chris Weidman and Anderson Silva. You can go back to an old show to hear. There was just 1 fight. Like there was no World War I and World War II. There was really just a World War. World War II was a post-traumatic stress response to World War I. Nazis should have been well, you couldn't have denazified them after World War I. They weren't Nazis yet. But they were not okay after World War I. And at the weight of the crown on Anderson Silva, he was not okay. So that his fight against Weidman won, and Weidman, this is the same fight. So she could have lost that way, but that bet has been crapped. They could have lost the Chad Mendez way. Herb Dean, same ref. Herb Dean was it, but that bet has been crapped. Well, what do you have control over? What do you as a fighter have control over? I have control over my weight. In my stunning march to IBJJF gold and silver last week, I could have eaten breath mints for 2 days before the competition like I've done before, just to make weight. I was 4 pounds over the day before, 2 pounds over the morning of. Had to run around the pyramid in Long Beach. If I had run around that pyramid 4 more times, I'd have been plenty depleted, and I was tired as it is. I could deplete myself. Why would I do this? Who has talked to you? What level of conscience do you have to have, and why would you care less about your legacy? Because maybe somebody says to you, yeah, it'd be nice to do a Floyd Mayweather, but who respects Floyd Mayweather? You take somebody like a Randy. Randy's got plenty of losses on his record. He's legacy. He's a legacy guy. So legacy, Johnny Boney Joni's got a loss on his record, albeit from a guy who was unconscious at the time he was declared the winner. So to have this perfect record, not that important. And certainly if you lose that record, you don't want to lose to somebody like Cyborg, who people won't ever believe that it makes sense for you to fight again. You have to have that comfort, that creative comfort zone of possibility that'll exist when a Holly takes you out with a combination of punches and kicks because you were depleted. Hands were low. Your hands were low. I'm just saying that if there were collusion, would it proceed along these lines? And now these two have an intimate relationship. We're not talking about the boss calling you in the office and you got to sit on the other side of the big table. They could be sitting around having drinks or bullshit and walking each other to the car. But I'm not saying this is what happened. I'm just arguing on either side of it. So once again, like we say, qui bono. We can follow the money. We can say, look, if you don't believe that gambling interest had had you know, anybody who bet the long odds on Holly is a happy person today. I'm not even saying that they got to her. I'm not saying that. I'm saying they could have gotten to her. But if money is not a motivating factor, and I usually when I say that my drummer, my asshole guitar player, took umbrage at me saying my drummer, where I have no problem at all with them referring to me as my singer. My drummer, every time I say something like that, he looks at me like, you stupid? I go, the guy's already a millionaire. Why would he do that? And he goes, because it's never enough. It's never enough. But, you know, what do you do when your mother's attacking your coach? What do you do when your mother's attacking your coach who is now declared bankruptcy and is $700,000 in the hole, purportedly, because I don't know what he's been doing with the money I've been giving him. What happens to the money? What do you do when the press is yanking over the coals because Travis Brown, your boyfriend, is still married and beats his wife? What do you do? I mean, what do you do? What do you do when to get out from under these missteps? How do you reset? You know, how do you turn the page? Do you turn the page by getting beaten by Holly Holm? I don't know. It seems unlikely to me. It seems unlikely to me, but I'd have to be a fool to not say Key Bono here, and I have to say the bald one. The bald one clearly benefits because he's got himself this series right now. Because you know and I know there will not be a don't care for Holly Holmes and Ronda Rousey 2. There will not be a don't care for that. I call the shot from now, care about it now. How about this as a future setup? Cyborg comes in. Now that doesn't make any sense. Cyborg comes in, beats Holly Holm, and then you have the rebirth of the rebirth of Honda as a good guy to Cyborg's bad guy, and then she wins and takes it. Legacy retires. Don't think that's possible? Guess who benefits? You think they can't get to Cyborg? How much is she making per fight? I'm not saying that's the way it is. I'm just saying. Who benefits? Take Cyborg out of the equation, you got a series. Who benefits? The roads are all going back to the bald one on this. So the first thing I do is rewatch it. And what do I do when I rewatch it? I look at his face. Do you remember, let's go back a bit. Do you remember when Anderson Silva beat Rich Franklin? Do you remember the bald one's face? It looked like somebody had run down one of his kids. When he put that belt around Anderson Silva, you could see, God, yeah, great. You see him last night? There's an expression for what he looked like last night. It's called the cat that ate the canary. So where does that leave us, Mr. Robinson, at the end of the? I mean, this show could clearly be a 2-hour show. I don't have time for that now. I got to go train. Sorry, but but let me get my tote sheet. Hall. What can I say? What I you know, he had the same problem when Nick Diaz came over from Japan and was fighting in American. Like his sense of timing was bad. You do realize it's not a 5-rounder. Get to work. Struve, as far as I'm concerned, hashtag you suck. You're done. Mark Hunt. It was a great fight. Mark Hunt lives to fight another day. Love this guy, but Bigfoot. Sorry, man. I like that you're growing out your hair. Maybe that's a sign of good things to come for you in some place where they like long hair, but not inside the cage. You know, Joanna Jędrzejczyk, thumbs up. We got to see her dig down and discover why she's a champion. Great fight. You see here on my tote sheet, I put $2. $2 is what I thought that Ronda fight was worth. Man, I am a stupid man. I don't think I'll get any disagreement there. But I have to say, if you saw this coming, I don't even care if you picked Holly. I'm okay with you picking Holly. But if you saw this coming the way it did, you need to raise your hand now, because I'm not buying it. Raise your hand now and send me the text or the tweet from prior to when you said that. And I know there are a few of you out there who did say that. So here we have the Inquisitor, we have the Devil's Advocate, we have one that's turning a jaundiced eye to the possibility of this being somehow a mystery work that we haven't been able to put our hands on, put our minds around. And then the other is like, no, this is a straight up loss. And this is what happens when you fuck around. And like John Jones said, after Anderson Silva got taken out the first time, you got to respect the game. You got to respect the game. Don't be doing a jacked up weight cut that has you slurring your words at the post weigh-in presser. Don't be doing that. Maybe try to get some sleep. Don't be hanging around with a team of bankrupt, do nothing bitches. Your team tells you won that first round, you get a new team. Listen to your mother. That's always a good one. Listen to your mother. That's a nice one. I mean, and where does the road turn? Well, the road doesn't turn now. Because now they're saying, oh, she's going to lose sponsorship. She's going to lose this. She's going to lose that. Maybe there's the talk of her being Ms. Marvel, even though her calendar has cleared up. It's not there. Maybe she can take some time off to get her personal life. Or maybe she can do what elite athletes do, which is dig down deep, reconvene. Was this fight a work or was it not a work? I'm going to have to say, I wish I had a big. I'm going to have to say that the fight was not a work. You didn't see that coming. You expected me to go into the conspiracy. There's such a science of subtle measures. How do I tell a difference between a self-sabotage that could come from just being, however old she is, 27, and inundated with shit and under a lot of pressure and just can't do it? How do you separate that from somebody who's, clear-eyed, cold-bloodedly conscious of cash and collusion? How do I separate those? In the end, when it's the same thing, it's impossible to know. This is how you know that when I'm telling you something is a conspiracy, it's a legitimate conspiracy, because I'm actually trying not to have the argument made one way or the other, but back and forth and weigh it in the balance and the checks in the balance, and understand at the end that the inducements for her to do this, why they were large, would not have mattered to her outside. Even if they said, look, you got it. My kids got cancer. I need the money. I mean, how would I be able to tell the difference between that and the fact that she was just distracted? The question is, and the most significant question is that you need to ask yourselves, what happens their second meetup? Where now the odds, you don't have any clear blowouts. The odds, she's still the favorite at the second blowout. The second blowout. So the second matchup, the odds makers are already working. They already have her as the favorite. Seen that movie before. And what do you think happens the second round? What would be good for business? This is another way to put off Cyborg. Somebody said Cyborg has been lost battalion. Man, I don't know. But I do know that this is a series has been made. A series has been made. That's what I know. So, like I said, I mean, I could go on for 2 hours, and we're going to do a special If I Did It tomorrow morning, 7:30 Pacific Standard Time, California time. So tune in for that if you can. But this is going to be the topic of discussion the entire week. Even though I'm sad to disappoint you, the conspiracy theorists amongst you. I just can't come out in favor of this being a work. There's too many factors. It's like in a similar way, I'm not with the whole Oswald thing. There's just too many other factors for me to believe that Oswald did this. Paraffin test revealed he hadn't fired a gun that day. Too many other factors. So, and there are too many other factors involved for me to think clear-headed comes into play. And there are suspicious characters lurking around the periphery. There's the bald one seeming perfectly happy to be putting the belt on somebody new. There's the darling of America, the tearful, father preacher thing, and the healthy thing compared to, they still got Ronda coming into bad reputation, Joan Jett. People using words like bully to describe her. Not touching the gloves. There was some pushback on that. So I'm not sure what this means, but like I said, if I have to make a decision by the end of the show, and I just have, nah. But there are a lot of smelling, stinking characters on the periphery, and I have to tell you, you got to watch. You got to watch carefully. You got to keep your eyes open, because strange things are afoot. I just haven't been able to figure it out. I slept fitfully last night because I'm thinking, it's like when the guy does the 3-card Monty thing. Find the red, everybody find the red. And you're looking at the cards and you're like, man, God damn it, I know this is true. Like my 3-card Monty dealer friend in Tel Aviv said, nobody who knows anything about life plays this game. Nobody who knows anything about life should be doing what I'm doing now, but I'm doing it. And that is very specifically trying to see how these things are connected, because I just can't believe what I saw. And so I'm analyzing my seeing. And so far, outside of the bald one looking comfortably pleased, outside of the slurring at the end of the post-fight presser, outside of uncharacteristically winded as a result of maybe a hard weight cut, I don't have too many suspects. But as far as I'm concerned, this is a cold case. Not as a cold case like it's gone. Like, this is one that in development over time, we'll get answers. Where they go from here. Why? They cooled out Conor McGregor because he's asking for $100 million. You get the sense that the jungle does not want him to win this fight at this point. There'll be no 1.5 punch wave off by a ref for this point. Not to a guy who's asking for 100. They would rather run the risk of the Jose Aldo attempt to unionize fighters than they would this guy who justifiably could ask for a demand and possibly get $100 million. They did not like that. You don't see too much of Conor McGregor these days, do you? They got to build this fight, but man, I guarantee you the bald one is hoping it's hoping to be able to put that belt around Jose Aldo, because now it's about picking who's a lesser pain in my ass. But Honda housing, don't know. In the coming days, like the Paris bombings, which I would be remiss to not have mentioned this entire show. Paris bombings, it's too soon. A British politician said it's too soon to jump to conclusions. I would like to be in a situation where someone was screwing his wife and he walks in and he said, hey, it's too soon to jump to conclusions about this load that I just blew. It's too soon to jump to conclusions. And he was talking about specifically connecting the refugee crisis to increased terrorist activity. It's too soon. Too soon. Anyway, with Ronda and the bald one and Holly and the future, the women's bantamweight, the number one seller in MMA at this point, it's too soon to tell, but you got to watch. You got to watch. You disagree with me? But there's nothing to disagree with. I established two positions and came out on the side of one. If you think it's a work, I need to hear more, but I don't think there's enough information, as extant information as it stands, to be able to make that determination. So, me, the judge, the jury, the executioner, I'd call it legit. I call it for Holly, and we didn't see it coming, and I've been wrong before, but never quite as happy to be wrong as this time. I got to go train. We'll see you tomorrow, with especially If I Did It, and later on in the week with a Care Don't Care preview. Look what you made me do!